These are the top 15 shocking secrets of Shaquille O'Neal's life. Number 15. Shaq almost killed someone. Shaq was already 6 feet 4 inches at the age of 10 years. Most of the people at school didn't like Shaq because he was different from everyone else. So he started doing some mischievous things to get everyone's attention. One day in 5th grade, he threw a spit wad on the chalkboard and it splattered. Some kid ratted Shaq out. And now Shaq got a suspension of 3 days, but before going home, he wanted to give some beating to this kid. While Shaq was kicking this kid, he had an epileptic seizure. A man helped this kid and Shaq's mom told him that he is too big and strong, he can't do something like that. That is when Shaq decided to become the class clown and not the bully. Number 14. Shaq was arrested by the Queen's Guards. Shaq once went to see Buckingham Palace, and one of his friends made a bet with him that Shaq was so big and strong, but he would not be able to make a Queen's Guard move or flinch. Shaq started doing some moves and being in the face of the guard. In the 3rd trial, Shaq accidentally bumped into the guard, and they had to put their weapon on him and arrest him. Took him to a back room where more cops were there, although it's really funny how he got out. He asked the cop to tell Prince Charles that he is the Black David Beckham of the United States, and a few hours later he was released. Number 13. Shaq has always been a womanizer, and this is still a thing as you can see him flirting with TV show hosts and other guests on the panel, and even going on Tinder. Shaq had a really long relationship history, and maybe a longer off-the-record relationship history, because in the year 2004, when Shaq was pressed with rape charges, Kobe Bryant, in an interview, revealed that Shaq has paid over $1 million to numerous women to keep his nights spent with them a secret. When Shaq got divorced in 2009, he blamed his divorce on Kobe. He even added these lines in his rap: "I'm a horse, Kobe ratted me out. That's why I'm getting divorced." Later, Shaq admitted that he was frequently cheating on his wife, Shawnee O'Neal, with Swedish actress Dominika Westling. Shawnee revealed that once her BlackBerry was exchanged with Shaq's when she was going to drop the kids to school. All she saw were girls and their messages about how was the last night. It is not always Shaq who lights the spark. Once a Middle Eastern princess took Shaq on a date and proposed to him to marry her, but Shaq refused as he felt intimidated by her with all her authority and paying bills. Number 12. Shaq is not the only party and fun guy. He is also an inventor. Shaq has invented his own waffle maker, his own grill, and even invented his own shoe phone, but there is a thing that he invented in 2021. It was a Shaq egg maker, which is a type of steamer or boiler that can make 14 hard-boiled eggs at one time. Since this thing dropped, it has been the hot product in the market. Number 11. Shaq O'Neal is known for having the craziest gatherings and throwing amazing parties, but I bet that you did not know that Shaq does not drink at all. To quote one of his teammates, "Can't stand the smell of table wine." Shaq was asked the same question in a TV show, that is where he revealed his story. His father once caught him drinking beer with his cousins at the age of 13. His father, Surgeon Phil Harrison, made him drink the whole 12-pack. After which not only he was drunk, he started hating beer so much that he couldn't stand the smell of alcohol. Although being the great businessman, he dropped his own line of vodka by the name Love SHAQ. Number 10. This story will shock you because if this would have happened as planned, Shaq may not be alive today. March 8, 1997. 2 days after his birthday, Shaq was supposed to be at the party with music and girls where he was invited to by the notorious B.I.G., and they both were supposed to be riding the same car. But this was the night on which B.I.G. was shot dead in his car. That was the night Shaq was all suited up and ready to go to the party, but fell asleep and later woke up when his mom called him around 4 in the morning and asked if he attended the party. That is when Shaq came to know about B.I.G.'s death. This all happened when Shaq became a sensation in the hip-hop industry and collaborated with B.I.G. for the album called You Can't Stop the Rain. Number 9. Shaq is a businessman. He owns over 50 brands, including investments in big companies like Google and Apple, Papa John's pizza franchises, car washes, and so on. But there have been some deals that Shaq still regrets to this day. You see, Howard Schultz, the owner of Starbucks, approached Shaq as he wanted to open and expand the coffee business in the African-American community, but Shaq shut him down as while growing up he never saw any coffee drinkers in his community. But little did he know that Starbucks going to become so big. Next up is Reebok. SHAQ signed with Reebok in 1992, and it was for over $40 million. But one day, a fan's mother approached him and started yelling at him about how expensive these sneakers are that some kids can't even think of affording them. That is when SHAQ decided to cut ties with Reebok, agreed to wear their shoes to the game, but returned all the money and started his own more affordable shoes range with Walmart, and since then sold 400 million pairs. Number 8. It is Dr. Shaquille O'Neal. While he pursued his legendary career in the NBA, Shaq always felt bad about giving up on college and his studies. He followed the online courses, and later, after he retired in 2011, he started attending classes and got his doctorate with thousands of other students. He also has very strict but practical rules for grooming his own kids. Shaq made it clear to his kids that he will not be giving handouts. It is their father who is not the kids. So Shaq told all his kids to get their hands on the money they have to present his 1 bachelor's and 1 master's degree. Number 7. Many players in the NBA tried to become rap stars, but not all succeeded. SHAQ is a platinum certified hip-hop artist. His 1993 debut album, SHAQ Diesel, sold over 1 million copies and received platinum certification from the RIAA. O'Neal was featured alongside Michael Jackson as a guest rapper on Too Bad on Jackson's 1995 album History. His third album, You Can't Stop the Rain, was released in 1996 and featured guest appearances from the likes of Jay-Z and the Notorious B.I.G. His fourth album, Respect, was released in 1998. Number 6. When it comes to dominating the game, SHAQ has always been at the top of the list. Ever since he started playing basketball, he has dominated. He won Player of the Week in the first week of his NBA career when playing for Orlando Magic, and won Rookie of the Year after his first season. But what people don't know is that despite being a beast on the court, SHAQ has only shot 1 3-pointer in his entire NBA career. Also, he is one of the worst free throw players. That is where Hack-a-Shaq came into play. This tactic involved an opponent player fouling on Shaq, so that he gets the free throw, misses it, and the team can get the ball back quicker. Number 5. NBA saw multiple changes over the time Shaq started playing in the league. It is not that the NBA hasn't seen big men in the league previously, but Shaq was a brute force, and the way he took revenge on that rim is almost unnatural. The NBA had to complete the basket assembly and the equipment mid-game for repair, because when Shaq dunked on it, the complete arm assembly collapsed. Later, when he scored another dunk like that, the complete backboard fell down. NBA was almost scared of how much this young guy changed and how he dominated the game, even against the most decorated players. Number 4. Growing up in the 70s, Shaq fell in love with DC Comics and one superhero, in particular Superman. After landing his first contract with the Orlando Magic for over $16 million, Shaq decided to build himself a mega mansion. We are talking garage, gym, pool, basketball courts, and theaters, but everything in the house was Superman-themed. Shaq is the king of custom vehicles because one day when he saw a Ferrari in Beverly Hills and went to get one, he was told, "You are too big," so he customized the Ferrari and got a stretched Ferrari. And guess where he keeps this car? In his Superman-themed garage alongside Superman Cadillac, a Superman monster truck. He even has the biggest bed in the world, which can fit 50 people. Number 3. Did you know who is the first ever person to be verified on social media? The answer is Shaquille O'Neal. When he came on Twitter, there were many accounts impersonating him, and even scammed many in his name. He had to tweet his correct username to clarify, and that is when Twitter decided to give him the very first blue tick. SHAQ is a well-known celebrity now, and not only a Hall of Famer in the NBA. He is seen in movies, cartoons, and TV shows multiple times, but SHAQ almost got killed by a shark once. SHAQ was filming an episode of the show called SHAQ Attack, in which the participant is locked in a cage, and that cage is submerged between the shiver. But this time one shark which was small enough to enter got in when SHAQ was locked inside, and the team immediately pulled him out. SHAQ was a part of the reality show Tanked and Treehouse Masters, during which he spent over $500,000 for an Egyptian-themed custom fish tank and a custom-made treehouse. Number 2. SHAQ has always been around people who are in serving the nation, whether it's his father figure, Sergeant Phil Harrison, or both his uncles who were in the police. SHAQ had the urge to become a sheriff, and when he retired from the NBA, he decided to become a full-fledged cop. He cleared the entrance and all the tests they put him through and became a deputy sheriff in Georgia and Florida. He also publicly announced that once he is done with TNT, he will be running for sheriff. Number 1. Shaquille O'Neal, born on March 6, 1972, was a normal child born to a recent high school graduate, Lucille O'Neal, who at that time was a single mother, as Shaq's biological father, Joe Toney, was sentenced to federal penitentiary due to drug use and lost his scholarship at Seton Hall. He was an all-state high school guard and loved playing football. Shaq was still an infant, and after Joe was released, Lucille convinced him to transfer the parental rights to Drill Sergeant Philip Harrison, who has met Lucille recently. Shaq was always aware of all this. He even wrote a song, "My Biological Didn't Bother." As a youngster, it was his way of getting his anger and frustration out, which he had on Toney. Later, when Shaq's father figure, Phil, passed away, Shaq went to the restaurant in Newark, New Jersey, which was below Toney's apartment. Shaq told him, "I don't hate you, I had a good life. I had Phil, and being a father, I know it is hard." Shaq finally had closure with his biological father and settled things in the right manner. So this was all about Shaquille O'Neal and the secrets he lives by. But the kind of money he and other NBA players make is no mystery. Click here to know more about how these NBA players spend their NBA money.